Welcome to Boss Up Goddess. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I go live every night to talk with women who sh- share their wisdom with us to help us all live bigger, better, and bolder. The woman you're about to meet, her name is amazing. It's Lola Joy. I just love her name so much. And she writes romance novels. She writes romance novels, and she's a lawyer, a mom, and a wife. Very dynamic, very inspiring. So I want you to meet Lola Joy. Welcome, Lola.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth.
I'm so excited to talk with you because, as I shared last night with Aliza Mann, I am moderating the Black Voices series of romance writers at the Detroit Writing Room, and you are one of the featured authors. It will be March 1st in the evening. You can go to detroitwritingroom.com to sign up and participate in this interactive, wonderful experience. But right now, we get to talk with Lola Joy one-on-one about her amazing book, Mercedes, why she writes romance, and what it all means to us. So, Lola, can you
Yeah.
talk about how you got into writing romance?
Okay. Such an interesting question. So I started out reading romance. I always tell people, in order to be able to write, you got to read first. It's good to keep reading if you write, but I started out as a reader for many, many years. I've always loved romance and mystery and suspense. Those have been my, bread and butter from a very young age. So at some point, I was going through the trials and tribulations of life, and, the marriage was rocky, and I had a baby at home, and things were going all crazy. And writing was really cathartic for me. And so I started just kind of pouring out all of my thoughts and my feelings into a novel that no one will ever read.
Why?
Before, because it was a dumpster fire. You're just pouring out thoughts and feelings. And, it's just all pouring out. Like, that's great, but you go back and you read it later on, and you're like, wow, it was either this or therapist, and sometimes both are good. And you have to move on from there. So that was a good first experience, but moved on from there. But I think that I just started doing it because I could, and because it was a way to deposit emotions that I did not have another outlet for at the time. And that's good. I think everyone needs that, whether you have a
Yes.
journal or you
Mhm.
have someone that you talk to, a therapist, a friend, a pastor, whoever it might be, it's good to have some place to deposit those things. And that was where I did it. It was in writing a novel, and romance,
Wow.
specifically. But yeah, it was writing.
I love that. Writing is very therapeutic, and it's so
Yeah.
interesting to write romance when you're going through the opposite of romance.
That's an interesting point. But I think to be able to create the world that you want is really something. It gives you power in a way that
Mhm.
you may not have in your life
Mhm.
situation. And I
Mhm.
think that that's what a lot of people find attractive about writing romance. It is, creating possibilities and creating outcomes that may not exist in whatever, real life situation you live in. um,
Oh.
if there's a way that if you're in a heterosexual relationship, if there's a way you want a man to talk to you, I joke sometimes, I'll put a quote from some of my books and people are like, oh, the guy said that, that's really good. I'm like, yeah, these men say whatever we want them to say. I'm happy. Like, that's how it goes. Yeah. And it's so funny to me. Guys will say, oh, I don't read romance. And we're like, yeah, we know. you know, maybe you should. Maybe that's exactly what the problem is. So yes, it is very empowering, and
Mm.
it's hilarious to me, Elizabeth. This is a $1 billion industry. It is one of the top selling industries, I think, behind mystery and suspense. It's romance, and
Yes.
people are still. I saw some author post, women are still hiding their romance novels on the train, and people are still snickering if you tell them you write romance, and I'm like, and it's funny why, there's no other industry that makes this amount of money that people are laughing at. But I think that that's a little bit of sexism, a little bit of discrimination, because women are really, the bosses over here. So
Mhm.
I don't let that bother me at all. I'm 100% romance, and I think that if you want to live a better life, maybe you should be too.
Yes. So, Lola, can you talk a little bit more about that stigma? I still don't understand it
Yeah.
myself.
You know what? I think it's a lot of things. I think the stigma has something to do with sex and our being a little bit prudish. And when we think about romance, we automatically think about, oh, it's smutty or it's about sex. First of all, none of us would be here were it not for sex. So I don't know why we act like it's not a thing and we can't talk about it and we can't read about it because, hello,
Right,
it's
right. Hello, yes.
continuation of the
Yes.
human race. So,
Mhm.
but I think that that's a lot of what it is, and I also think that just women finding their voice in that way can be threatening.
Oh.
That creates some of the stigma, that women
Uh-huh.
are dictating the terms in a lot of
Uh-huh.
romance novels, for better or for worse.
Uh-huh.
We're in control in the novels, and I think that that can be threatening. And people may say that it's funny, and but I don't think that they really think it's funny. I think that
No.
they feel threatened by it, a world
Mhm.
that we're creating.
Mhm. So a lot of romance writers are millionaires
Yes.
and, they're very highly respected and celebrated and they truly are bossing up with
Yep.
their craft, with their business and being the goddesses that we're all meant to be in mind, body and spirit when we empower ourselves. So,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely. And it's a way to enter into an enterprise. It's a way to become a business person. You as a publisher, that is a way to control the environment that the work comes out of. That is
Mhm.
a very powerful thing. And I encourage women, whatever stigmas you may feel like are attached to it, get into it and see for yourself whether or not
Mm.
those stigmas bear out in real life. Because what I have found is a group of very empowered, strong women who are, rushing into the headwinds and saying, "We don't care. we're gonna create these worlds. We're gonna make this money, and we're gonna live happily ever after." I like that. I'm like, okay, I
Woo!
found my people.
I love it.
I found a home here. So it really is an incredible group of women. They're very
Mhm.
accepting of differences. They're very accepting of racial differences, of different gender preferences, of different gender identities. I mean, it is a very accepting and open-minded group, and you would have to be
Mhm.
writing about some of the things that they're writing about. So I have a lot of
Mhm.
respect for the industry, not just something that I participate in or I do for a hobby. I have a lot of respect for the industry as a reader, but now as a writer, to see that side of it, I continue to have that much respect for the industry.
Beautiful, beautiful. So now let's talk about your book, Lola. Can you hold up Mercedes, please?
Yes. See, it's back here. So this is
Woo!
my first published book, Mercedes by Lola Joy.
Ooh, it's
It's weird.
beautiful.
I remember the first time I held this book in my hands, and I thought to myself, huh, I have written an entire novel.
Oh, it's
It
gorgeous.
was quite an experience. One of
Oh.
my family members was in town recently and just got a copy of the book. She just got her copy in the mail and she called me up today and she said, "I'm reading this book and I have to keep reminding myself that you wrote it." She said, "I keep telling myself, my father's sister's child wrote this book because
Oh,
like it's just so, different and, just so wonderful." And I thought that that was a great compliment. And I was like, yeah,
yes.
because sometimes I'll read it and I'll think to myself, I wrote this.
That's amazing.
It's
Wonderful.
something, yeah.
That's a feeling that you can't buy and you can't pay for and you
Nope,
can't you
nope,
can't quantify with money because
nope,
it's yours, it's
yep,
fulfilling, it's an achievement, it's an accomplishment. So I love that you savor that
yeah,
sense of accomplishment. So
yeah.
Lola, what's the book about?
So this is always difficult. First of all, I always tell people I'm a struggle synopsis writer. So when you read the synopsis for the book, like people read the synopsis and they're like, okay, I read the synopsis. Now what is the book about? And I'm like, "Ah, that's
Oh,
a good question." So I told you, I've always been into mystery, suspense, as well as romance. So there's a lot of twists and turns in the book. So I struggle to tell people what it's about without giving away things because sort of from the first chapter going all the way through the end, you're like, what just happened? What just happened? I mean, it's got a lot of, when you read the reviews, everybody says, oh, it's twisty, it's turny. Like I didn't see that coming. It's a little bit unexpected, but what I wanted to write about really was a very imperfect heroine, who people pick up the book and you look at Mercedes and she might be the kind of person that you like right away. You're like, oh, she's kind of sleazy, or, she, got money from men, or, just not an independent, strong woman. Like, it may not be the kind of person that you like. I don't like her at the very beginning, but but that's okay. Because I think that it's important for us to see people with imperfections getting happy endings, because happy endings don't just belong to perfect people, because guess what? There are no such thing as perfect
No,
people. So
zero.
it's really about Mercedes finding herself in life and finding who she is outside of things that she's been told about herself. She's got a lot of
Mm.
negative messages from very early on. And I like that about her and identify with that about her, because I think as a Black woman, I got a lot of negative messages about myself very early on, about who I am and what I can achieve and what I can expect out of life and love. And Mercedes had the same thing. She had a certain expectation about what life was going to bring and about what she could get in a relationship and about what she was supposed to contribute to a relationship. And so a lot of what you'll read in the book is about her unlearning all of those negative things that she learned early on. And then the male character in the book is another side of me, because I was raised in a Pentecostal church. My father is a pastor. My husband is a minister. It's
Wow.
a lot of church over here. And so I I wanted to talk about, I know it scares the heck out of people because you do not talk about religion in romance books, but I want
Wow.
to talk about the difference between religion and, finding ourselves in God, or with the higher power that you identify with, and how we separate those things, and how sex is still a part of those, that life, and, how we deal with all those things. So it's a little bit complex in that way, but someone said, you scared me so bad when you started talking about religion. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But then,
Uh-oh.
somehow, I think just by staying true to my own experience,
Yes.
I think I managed to pull it off in a way that won't offend anybody and will kind of show you what my thoughts are on the topic.
I love how you're blazing your own trail. And that's what Boss
Yeah.
Up Goddess is all about. You're a trailblazer because, they say you have to write a protagonist that the reader will like. So
Yes.
you're like, nah. And now you're adding the religion piece in there that can go
Oh,
in all
I
kinds of
know.
directions.
I know.
So,
After it's over, I'm like, okay, maybe this was too much, but if you can't do, you know, I write for love. I write because I love it, because this is something
mhm,
I love. I mean, I work for money.
mhm,
I love my chosen career. I like being a trial lawyer, but that's for money. This is something that I do because it's what I dreamed of, and it's because I
mhm,
want to do. And so
mhm.
why do that and not do it in a way that's true? Like, if
Right.
you're gonna do it, be honest about it. So I
I
try to be
love
honest
it.
about who I am in the books. Yeah.
And I love how when you say you're not writing for money, you're writing because this is what you want to write. That frees you to not
Yeah.
have to conform to the so-called rules that might guarantee the financial success if you were trying to make a living at writing romance novels.
That's
So,
true.
Lola, how have readers responded to your style?
Interesting. So my sister teases me because every good review I get, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they liked it. She's like, would you knock it off? Like, gee, they really like me. She's like, it's so played out now. Like, you're at hundreds of reviews now. Like, get over yourself. But no, it's true. I think every time I read a new comment, I'm amazed. People have said that the book is captivating. Like, that's a word that has come up over and over again. I was captivated. I started this book, I couldn't put it down. It's such a page turner. I think the first person that I ever read a review from said, this is a juicy page turner. And I thought
Ooh.
to myself, I mean, that's what I wanted, but I
Uh-huh.
wasn't sure that other people would perceive it in the same way, because you just have all these, you read, if you're an author, you read 1 minute and you're like, this is great. I'm gonna get a
Uh-huh.
Pulitzer for this. And the next
Right.
read it and you're like, oh my God, it's toilet paper. Like, it's just, you're just all over the place when it's your writing. So I think so I've been surprised by some of the reader feedback, but readers have been very positive about it. And there have been people who have been negative, and I appreciate that too, because I feel like their negativity is valid. Like, some people have said, well, there wasn't enough, explicit sex in it, because maybe that's not what I do. And I said, okay, that's fair, because
Mhm.
that wasn't what I was going for. And so if you don't like that sort of thing, and you're bored by an actual storyline, okay, fine. So, I accept that. So, there's a couple of those, but overwhelmingly, people have just really enjoyed it, and they've enjoyed the messages. And I'm so happy that people said, like, I got the messages, but it wasn't too preachy. Because, in writing about some of these topics, I was worried that, people might think, oh, she's being a little bit preachy about it, or, I didn't want people in the church to feel like I was indicting them, because that's not what I'm here to do. But I was happy to see that too, though.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So I'm very intrigued by the fact that you're a trial lawyer, your wife, you have 3 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you are writing books.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, when do you do your writing?
Um, so when I get these stories in my head, they're just in my head, like, until I get them out. So it actually isn't as hard as one might think, because the story will kind of ride me until I tell it. So I will get off. Lawyers don't really get off work, but I will log off for the day, or log off, and it just kind of flows. Maybe I'll be writing the outline for it, and I could do that at the end of the night, or that's what I do on my weekends. Whatever. After I was a trial lawyer, and I had 3 whole children, and I was changing diapers and making bottles and carrying diaper bags. And I remember one time, I showed up in court. I was arguing a case. I was standing on the bench. I had a baby at home. I was standing up arguing a case. And I kept smelling something weird. And I was like, what is that smell? Like, I'm looking all around. I'm like, what is that smell? Then I sniffed the jacket, my suit jacket. And I was like, oh, it's me. It's baby throw up. And it's on my so I just figure, like, if you can get through stuff like that, like, I argued a whole case with baby throw up on my shoulder, smelling like rotten milk, and I won that motion. Like, what is it to write a novel? We go through, and there's this theory that somehow, especially for career women, that being a mother diminishes you, because you don't have as much to devote to your job and to your career. So you're somehow not, able to excel to the same levels. But I didn't have that experience. For me, being a mother increased my sense of capacity, because I was like, if I can do this and do the career thing, what else is it that I might be able to do if I really put my mind to it? Got those babies out of diapers, got them into preschool, off to kindergarten, and I was like, I'll write a novel now. It doesn't feel like anything after you get through that. It's just so funny to me, what sexism has done in terms of our thinking about things, and our thinking about how things work and what our limitations are. Because we've gotten some messages that are the exact opposite of what reality is. Like, man, if you can be a mother, if you can care for, maybe not be a mother, maybe you're caring for other loved ones who are not children. Maybe you're caring for adult loved ones who have disabilities or something of that nature. If you can give of yourself to something other than a career, than something other than the pursuit of money, then you have a lot of capacity, and you need to explore what else it is that you can do. You talk about bossing up, figure out what you can give of yourself, and then boss up in every area in your life. Like, this can be done.
Wow, I love that. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
Love that. So inspiring.
Yep. So
Let that sink in.
Yeah. Overcoming, the adversity in the marriage, it's like, listen, you have 3 kids, that marriage is not going to be perfect. Each one of those kids is going to tip the scale a little bit further towards, I may have to leave you and never speak to you again. But, again, you overcome that adversity, and then you look back and you're like, what else is it that I can do? I think that is my, you didn't ask me for a boss up message, but that's my boss up message, for everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Every single thing you overcome, you need to look back and say, if I got through that, I'm still alive, I'm still breathing, my wig is still on reasonably straight. What else is it that I can accomplish? What else is it that I can achieve in life? Because there's more.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. I just came up with that. I need to put that in a book.
You should absolutely have one of your boss female protagonists.
Yes. Yes, I like that.
Yes, for sure. She's saying that to somebody.
Yes, yes.
I can see it. Okay, so what's next? What are you writing for? What's your next book?
It's so funny. I said, I'm going to write this book, Mercedes. And I think I did too good of a job on the supporting cast. To me, a supporting cast is important. I hate to read a book and, it's got like throw-in characters and you can't really tell a lot about them. So it was important to me that the supporting cast have their own stories. Even if I didn't tell their complete stories, in my mind, I had entire backgrounds for all these supporting cast members. And I think that came across a little too well because people expect that there are going to be books about these other characters.
Oh,
I posted something today and a reader said, "Oh yeah, I'm waiting for the story about the other characters." And I said, "No, no, no. I never said that there were any stories about the other characters." And she said, "Oh, no, no, no. It was implied." And I'm like, "I don't
oh,
think it was implied."
wow.
But since people expect other stories, and I love you guys, I
Oh,
am actually doing some other stories about some of the other characters in the book. So there is,
wow.
of course, I picked the most awful character that nobody likes, and I'm going to tell his story because it's problematic like that. So everyone's like, "Is it going to be Connor? No. Is it going to be August? No. What about Ashley? No. It's going to be Paul." And people are like,
Ooh.
of all the characters, why would you pick that one? Because he has issues, and I like people
Oh,
with issues. So
wow.
talk about Paul and all of his issues in the next book that comes out. And I don't know. So I'm torn because I'm a total unfaithful writer. So I'm the person who starts a book and then I get into my head, I see a manuscript and I'm like, "Ooh, that looks good over there. I think I want to go over there and do that." So who knows? Like I think that it's gonna be Paul next, sometime in the springish. But I have this other book too that I want to write about because I decided that I'm going to write about a white police officer and a Black woman because I'm problematic and I want to do that too. So, and that book is just engaging to me and rich, and it's got all the good stuff and all the complications that you can imagine in that kind of a relationship. And I just can't let that one go. So that one might be the next one. I can't decide. They're kind of in competition because the Paul book is nearing the final stages, but the other one is about halfway done too. So they're warring for completion.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's like coming at it from a whole nother angle, the opposite angle.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
always want to tell the unexpected story, and I always want to give people, the unexpected end. It's just important to me because it's, I think that we talked about this, Elizabeth, but I am intrigued by the possibility of things. I am just because in the possibilities of things there is hope, for the
Mhm.
future, and I'm just intrigued by telling stories of what is possible and getting people to expand their thinking about what's possible. Because I think if you think about that way, even in terms of a romance novel, I mean, some people say that it's silly, but it's how we build faith. We hear something and then we start to think that maybe it's possible, and it's something that can be manifested into reality. So
Mm.
that's something that I want to give people. I want them to dream about things that they may think that are outrageous and then see them
Oh,
happen.
I love that so much.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you're inspired by these ideas, Lola, do you just sit down or do you have a specific writing time, like in the evening or the morning or the weekends? What's your method?
That is a good question. I want to discover what my method is so that I can continuously do the same thing. I think, and so the first book got done. A lot of it was because of COVID. When the state, we're in Michigan, so our state went into lockdown for a little while. And when that happened, really industry slowed. It did not stop. I still worked. I still had obligations in my career, but it slowed a lot. So I had time to really work on completing Mercedes. I think that going forward, I've had to be a lot more methodic and a lot more disciplined about my writing. So I've developed certain writing spaces on the weekend. I write on the weekends, and I take time in the evening and I write, and I have to outline more now. So I have
Oh,
to know what I'm writing before I write it, because it saves a lot of time. Like when I'm sitting there trying to figure it out the keyboard, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an artist. I kind of flow, but you waste a lot of time being an artist and kind of flowing and not knowing what you're doing. So I've started a lot of outlining. So I figured this. I outline during the week in the evenings when I'm too tired. I've been looking at my computer all day. I can't look at the computer anymore, so I can't work on the manuscript, but I use that time to outline. And that
okay.
works. And then when I get to the weekend, I'm able to just kind of crank out what's already been outlined.
I love that. So I'm a book coach and I teach you must write an outline. So do you write an outline for the
Coach Elizabeth, I should be asking you, what is my process? What should I be doing? You're asking me? I don't know. I need all the help I can get. Oh my God. I saw that on your website. I should have turned the question around and asked you. I missed an opportunity. Yes, outlining. God, nobody told me that to begin with. I was just out here just writing, and erasing and rewriting. But yes, outlining. Goodness.
so I teach outline the book,
Mm-hmm.
outline the chapters, and outline the scenes.
So you outline the whole book and then chapters and then specific scenes in that
And
order.
yes, and I learned this. One of my editors at St. Martin's Press years ago taught me this. She had me read this book called Scene and Structure by Jack Bickham. And
Mhm.
it changed my whole writing style because it enables you to really crank up the suspense in every scene. And
Right.
therefore, the reader is just like constantly in this suspense state. And this like rhythm is developed in each chapter.
Yes.
It's hot, it's awesome. But so I teach that in my book coaching course, which is 6 months. So I
Mhm.
teach people everything you need to know to write and publish a book. And it's revolutionized my method. But I love that you do outline, Lola, because it's a roadmap. Like
Mhm.
you're not going to leave your house and try to go to a store across town without your GPS telling you where to turn and all the places and how to get there, right? To
Right.
arrive at your destination. So a book outline is your most efficient. Like you just said, you're instead of meandering all over Kingdom Come in your creative flow that
Yes.
can waste so much time and energy. When you have an outline, you know exactly what you're going. It's a framework.
Yes.
You know exactly what you're going to be doing, and
Yeah.
it really facilitates fast writing, efficient and focused writing.
Yes.
So
And I think that's the key, is the
mhm.
efficiency and the focus. And I mean, if you are independently wealthy and you just write for fun and you have time to wander all over the place, by all means, meander, wonder, but I have a career, so I can't do that. I need to be able to get it done. So,
Mhm.
and I'm not above taking a course. I love that you talked about that. Maybe I need to take your course. I'm not above taking a course, taking a creative writing class. Like that doesn't hurt. There were things, that I found out from my editor that I'm like, oh, I write for a living and I didn't know this about creative writing because, writing legal briefs is not the same thing as writing a novel. So
Mhm.
I think that improving your craft is something that we should all do. So I brought
Mhm.
that up. But yeah, like for the sake of efficiency, oh my God, make an outline.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. And so what about characters? Like how do you come up with these characters?
They are people that I know. I mean, that is a very specific thing. There's a character in Mercedes who is named August. Everybody loves August. August is a transgender male who is crazy. He is just says whatever, does whatever. August is very much a real person. People always ask me that, is August a real person? I'm like, yes. August threatened somebody with a spatula, and everybody wants to know, is that real? Yes. Somebody asked me what kind of spatula. I said it was a pampered chef spatula, because this was a real incident that happened. So yeah, like a lot of the characters are real people. And if they're not real people, then they're conglomerations of people that I know. So I will put
Mhm.
together different personality types. There's another character in Mercedes named Jules. Jules is not one person that I know, but she's a combination of a lot of different people that I've met over time, and their attitudes about men and money and their life philosophy. I just put those people all into one character. So
Mhm.
there's hardly ever anybody who is well, there's nobody in Mercedes who's invented out of thin air. Now, I don't know what will happen in the future in some of those characters, but yeah, it's there's so much material to work with in the people that I know. I mean, I've been a lot of places, I've met a lot of people, and I'm like, oh, even people who I don't like, I'm like, oh, you would make an excellent book. You would make an excellent human, but you would make an excellent book character. So there's something that I can get out of this relationship, my interaction with you. Isn't that wonderful? If you're an author, like, you don't have to hate people because you're like, hey, if nothing else, this will make an excellent story. So you've done something for me. You've enhanced my life in some way. That is the beauty of being an author. You can't lose. Either you meet somebody who you love or you get a great story. Great.
Wow, I love your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Lola, where can people find your book?
So the book is on Amazon. It is free for Kindle Unlimited users. And you know how Amazon is about Kindle Unlimited. If it's on Kindle Unlimited, then it's not anywhere but Amazon. So it's available in paperback and ebook. But yes, it's on Amazon. And I don't know if we'll go wider at some point in the future. I like Kindle Unlimited because I was a Kindle Unlimited reader before I was a writer. And I like the library, but that can be a little controversial sometimes. But yes, it's on Amazon.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Is there any advice you'd like to offer to people out there who might be thinking about trying to write a romance novel?
Oh, I think that you should do it. I think that that's the biggest thing. I think you should do it. I think you should do some of the things that Elizabeth has said. I think maybe you should take Elizabeth's course. That might be the first thing. It might make your life a lot easier than mine was. Maybe take a course first. But I think that you have to just start. Like you have to, sometimes we want to do things and we think about it and we hold it in our heads forever. I know I did. And once you do it, you're like, man, I could have done this 10 years ago. Like I hyped it up so much in my mind, like, oh, it's so hard and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Sometimes you just need to get it out and do it. And even if the first thing that you do is a dumpster fire, like my first thing was, fine, because the second thing wasn't a dumpster fire. And the second thing has, sold a lot of copies and is popular and people like it. And so that's fine. The dumpster fire was totally worth it. So I think if you want to do it, you have to just do it. And then you have to work on doing the things that will perfect your craft, including Elizabeth's course.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, Lola. And that's excellent advice.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, I really immensely appreciate you taking time to share your wisdom and your trailblazing spirit, and everything you shared can help all of us live bigger, better, and bolder. And you truly are bossing up as a goddess who can help us all. So thank you, Lola Joy.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And if you'd like to meet Lola Joy virtually in the March 1st workshop with the Detroit Writing Room, you can sign up at detroitwritingroom.com and join us from 7 to 8:30 in the evening. And you can participate in this interactive experience. I'll be the moderator. We have 5 amazing writers who will all be talking about writing romance. It's going to be phenomenal. I'll put the link in the description box along with all the links where you can keep up with Lola Joy on all of her social media, as well as the link to get her book on Amazon. So I hope she's intrigued you and you want to read her book because it sounds fascinating and I can't wait to read it. So Lola, thank you again.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome. And thank you all of you for joining us tonight on Boss Up Goddess. Please do like, share, subscribe, comment, and click the notification bell so you know every time I go live or upload a new video. And please also follow me on Twitter at Elizabeth Atkins. Meanwhile, Boss Up Goddess, you have the power. I'll see you next time.
Love it.